All right, so Robbie Hummel from NBC, Fox. What was the other one?
Big Ten Network.
So at what point are you going to be making Christmas movies for Hallmark?
Never. My acting is terrible, so that will not be happening.
All right, so, hey, just want to talk about the Big Ten. Obviously, that's what we're here to do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, just Purdue, obviously. It's a weird situation. Purdue has a great season last year. All everybody wants to talk about is how it ended.
Sure.
What are your expectations of Purdue this year, and what's the who's the challenger to them in the Big Ten, you think?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's unfair for the season they had that everyone looks at it like it was this colossal failure. And I fully understand that losing to a 16 seed as a 1 is not acceptable. You know, you shouldn't do that. It's been proven other than by Virginia that you should win that game. But when you win the Big Ten by 3 games and you win the Big Ten tournament, and I know Coach Painter's talked about how they weren't necessarily playing great basketball at the end of the year. You know, when you take a step back and look at that team was projected to finish 5th or 6th in the preseason polls. So you're playing freshman guards. You certainly have some experience in that backcourt, and you still end up being that successful. I just think that last year was a good year, and unfortunately, we had a really poor performance in one of the more important games of the season. But I think going forward, this team is built to be right back in that position. You bring Ade back, there's no one like him in college basketball. Your freshman guards become sophomores. You bring Lance Jones over from Southern Illinois, and you've got great depth with Mason and Caleb and Trey Coffin-Wren, who played really well overseas. So I think Purdue is one of the top 2 or 3 or 4 teams in college basketball to start the preseason, and I think that the team that will be looked at as a challenger for them is Michigan State. You know, they bring back almost everybody as well. So to me, those are the 2 top teams in the conference, and they've really separated themselves in that tier 1.
You got me. You got out in front of my next question. Where's Purdue's room for improvement?
Well, I think, certainly always taking care of the basketball. They can shoot the ball better. I think they felt like they had a better shooting team, especially end of the year when they weren't shooting it nearly as well. Making shots around Zach is going to be a huge part of this deal, and that was a big story for that Fairleigh Dickinson game. If we're making threes, then you can't put 4 guys on him to guard him. So I think those things, and then Braden Smith being more aggressive. I think having more dynamic playmakers like a Miles Colvin, like Lance Jones can maybe get into the paint. Braden being more aggressive. Fletcher Lawyer getting in the weight room, I hope, all summer long. I assume he has. There's a lot of places. That's the thing that I think is so positive about Purdue. Around Zach, a lot of pieces can really improve and make strides, and I think that has to be something that Purdue fans can be really optimistic about.
What more can Zach give them?
That's a great question.
It seems like an unrealistic expectation.
No, I know. Better defense and pick and roll, I guess you could say. That's somewhere where he could really try to continue to make strides. From an NBA perspective, people would say, well, can he spread the floor? And he's a good shooter, I think, when you watch him shoot in workouts. But do you want your 7'4" beast away from his 80% shot around the rim? Probably not.
Best offensive rebounder in the country.
Too, and the way that he just gobbles up offensive rebounds. So I guess defensively, keep making strides there. He was so much better last year protecting the rim. Keep making great reads. Keep finding teammates. When you get double and triple team, find the open man. But you're talking about a guy that averaged 22 and 13 last year, had 8 games of 30 and 10. He's one of the best players to ever play at Purdue, and I think that's he hasn't passed big dog, but he's getting into the conversation with people that are in that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th spots. So he's an incredible player, and I think he's going to have another monster year.
You were with Lewis when he was a true freshman point guard and came onto a pretty established team.
Yeah.
In that context, what Braden did last year and what he's capable of this year, what's sort of your general expectation?
Yeah, well, and I also look at the fact that Braden didn't really have a healthy offseason, last year. So the fact that he was healthy and got to work on things and spend that time with the strength conditioning program, and it was a challenge for Lewis Jackson to come in and not so much find his voice, but you had Keaton Grant, you had Chris Kramer, you had myself, Juwan, Etuan. Like there was a bunch of guys there that had success and played, and Lewis, came in, and I give him a lot of credit. He's got a big personality, so he was able to kind of get right in there and be a guy that was a vocal leader early. Yeah. But it's hard. It is really hard when you have established guys in front of you And I think that's why you see Coach Painter is so on Braden to be aggressive for himself. You know, it's not many players you have to tell, like, yo, go out and shoot the ball. Usually you hear that one time, and everybody's pretty good about going out and doing that. So I thought Lewis did a great job with our team of kind of, and good to see Lewis here today as well, a member of the media. Love that. He did a great job.
Everyone's media now.
That's true. That's true. With podcasts, everybody can be media. And I thought Braden did a nice job last year, too.
How is Matt different than the guy you played for now?
I asked him the same question about 20 minutes ago. I think he said his patience, which I think is a good answer. He's more patient now. I think he just is so confident in his coaching ability. Not that he wasn't when we played for him, but the results back that up. You know, when I played for him, when I committed to him, you think about the opportunity for a 36-year-old guy to get to be the head coach of a Big Ten program where you played. A, the pressure to keep that job is super high, and B, you know, you look at trying to build culture and establish toughness, and you're gonna do everything in your power to keep that job. And you know, he learned under Coach Katie, who he wasn't messing around. You know, our practices were hard, but that made us better players. You know, so I think he's really improved in maybe finding the things that matter. You know, really defining things, letting certain things go, you know, handling other things, the patience I talked about. He doesn't yell at the players as much anymore, which I wish he did. You know, that's every former player. They wish that their college coach. They all think that they got yelled at more.
Yeah.
So.
Not that you can't be both, but does Purdue strike you as more of an offensive program now than it was back in your day?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I mean, but you look at the way that they have these plays, like their football plays, you know, the terminology that they have, the way they work on it.
Yeah.
I would say when I was at Purdue, we worked on defense at least 60-40, maybe 70-30. But the rules changed. You know, we really pressured, and we were in the passing lanes, and you could be physical. Now your hands are on somebody, it's a foul. You know, so that's kind of the evolution of him. I think he's one of the best offensive coaches in college basketball. And at that point, when we were playing for him, we were known as a defensive team. You know, we were really good, I think, as a unit defensively.
As an alum, do you feel the pressure on them this year too?
Yes. Yeah, I do. And I feel bad for them in that regard, because I know that the fans are going to say, well, if they don't make the Final Four, the season doesn't mean anything. And that's a big – a lot of things have to happen on your side from a luck perspective, from a performance perspective. The single elimination makes it tough. It's what makes the NCAA tournament great, and it's what's made it so awful for Purdue the last 3 years. You've got to get lucky. And honestly, you look at the teams that make the Final Four and win it. There's normally a game, and I look at Kansas my last year. You know, they're a 2 seed. They should have lost to us. And then they go and they make the national championship game. You know, so like you got to get lucky. You got to win maybe a game you don't play well in. But yeah, I definitely feel it. I think all the fans, they want success in the tournament, and you know, I get that. I get that. It's been 3 disappointing NCAA tournament exits in a row, so they're going to have to do it when it counts.
Hey, you were one of the forerunners of people making old people jokes about a guy playing college basketball as a fifth-year senior. What's it like now seeing all these 23-year-olds playing college basketball nowadays?
It's insane. I was making some of my game sheets. I'm trying to think who it was, but there's a 7th-year player on a roster, and it's like that is...
That's as long as Zach E's been playing basketball.
You're a doctor at that point, you know, if you've been doing it right. So the game has changed in so many ways. I mean, NIL, portal, COVID year, it's kind of a culmination of all those things together. But, you know, being that I was the brunt of those jokes, and so is Aaron Kraft. I saw him here today. It is what it is.
Yep.